call this second public meeting for your Committee on Commerce and Tourism and Cannabis to order. The agenda for today's meeting was issued on March 12th, and copies are provided online and in the House chamber for the viewing public. If there are no objections, can I get a motion to adopt today's agenda? There is a motion to adopt today's agenda.
Second.
It has been seconded. Discussion on the motion? Ready? Those in favor of adopting today's agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. Today's agenda has been adopted. Before moving on to opening statements, I'd like to announce some housekeeping rules and introduce our members and the staff of the Legislative Bureau who are with us today. Please silence your cell phones and abide by our COVID-19 guidelines by wearing your masks and being mindful of your distance. Sorry, not enough space in here. We do have hand sanitizers available in the gallery. I'd like to introduce the members of your Committee on Commerce and Tourism and Cannabis. Representative Selena Babalta from Precinct 1. Oh, she'll be a little late. Representative Vicente Camacho from Precinct 3. Representative Richard Lizama from Precinct 5. Floor Leader Ralph Yumo from Precinct 3. I would also like to recognize our speaker, Villa Gomez. Is everyone here? Okay. And our chairman is out sick our vice chair is out sick today. I'd like to recognize the staff of our Legislative Bureau here with us today. Our legal counsel, Joseph Tyron. The legislative assistant assigned to your committee on this committee, Clarissa Sablan, who will also be keeping time during this meeting. Our Sergeant at Arms, Mr. Tawai. Our IT Manager, Mr. Jonathan Diaz. We are live on cable and streaming live on Facebook at the CNMI Legislature's page. Please be advised that even if we are on recess, our FB Live will continue streaming. We now move into opening statements. I'd like to respectfully ask that we keep it at 3 minutes each. And if there are no objections from the members, I would like to begin. FYI, I made a one whole page statement, but then it got cut off. I don't know why. So I'll just read the short version.
Thank you.
Mr. Rubaliman and team, from the research I've done, I have nothing but praise for you for being able to juggle the several divisions under your care, keeping them in line with the law, and yet you still come out with a gigantic smile. How do you do that? That's one question out of several that we would like for you to share your answer to today. Please proceed by updating us with the goings on at your second home, the Department of Commerce, since the last time you were here. That's how short it is, less than 3 minutes. I will now move on to I'd like to open the floor to our members to deliver their opening statements. Yes, sir. Rep. Lizama.
Good morning. Thank you, Chairwoman, gentlemen, ladies from the Department of Commerce. As what she said, you always smile, sir. And that's why you have a great team. So I hope that the information you're providing us today will give us the feedback with everything that's going on, especially with a lot of happening during this COVID-19, and you guys were hanging in there. I remember you have a lot of furloughs, but I can see that you were coming back. So that's a good sign. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Lizama. Anyone else? team? Okay, Rep Camacho.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. I want to welcome you guys. This is very nice. I hope to get to educated on informed. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep Camacho. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you, members. Oops. Thank you, members. We now move on to the next. Oops, sorry. Oh, sorry. Yes, Rep, please, about that. Oh, sorry. I would like to recognize Rep Abata. She just stepped in. Thank you. Thank you, members. We now move on to the next item on our agenda. New business. Department of Commerce, Mr. Mark O. Reboliman. Please.
Bless my Chairwoman, this honorable committee. First and foremost, I'd like to extend our appreciation for the opportunity to appear in front of you today. And I hope that today's infomercial will assist, guide, and provide the funding for this honorable body moving forward in terms of future laws that everyone in here is contemplating. With that said, I just wanted to outline the format. I'll just do a brief overview of the Department of Commerce. As you all can see, I brought the department heads or division heads to be able to speak on the variety of mandates that they have within their own offices. On top of that, I just like to be able to have an association of the faces with the different divisions under the Department of Commerce. With that, Tom, it's again, good morning, honorable bodies. We are the Department of Commerce, and our mission statement for the department is to ensure that the policies and procedures governing the conduct of businesses in the Commonwealth promote sustainable economic growth, stimulate economic development and diversification, and provide a fair and equitable business environment in which both private and foreign businesses and ultimately the people of the Commonwealth may prosper. It's under the authority of 1 CMC, subsection 2451 and Executive Order 92-2 and 94-3. The Department of Commerce was originally created under Public Law 1-8 and is codified as 1 CMC, subsection 2451, and later modified or reorganized through Executive Order 92-2 and 94-3, section 302, with the separation of labor and immigration from the former Department of Commerce and Labor. This next slide outlines the divisions within the department. Office of the Secretary, we have Banking, Insurance, Registrar of Corporations, Alcohol, Beverage, and Tobacco Control Division, in short, ABTC, Central Statistics Division, CSD, Economic Development Division, EDD, which houses the CNMI Small Business Development Center, the SBDC. Along with that, we have the Enforcement and Compliance Division and Workers' Compensation Commission. Again, this is just to outline what's under the Department of Commerce, and therefore the teams are here to expound on each one of the divisions mentioned herein. So with that, I believe we will start with banking. We're going to go alphabetical order with the exception of ABTC as being the last to present. because I think he has 40 slides. So we'll save the best for last. So
Excuse me a moment, do you have a copy of these for us? It's different from what we have here. It's okay, can we get a copy of it later? Thank you, can we continue?
Good morning, Chairwoman and members. My name is Charlotte Borja. I'm from the Insurance Division, but I'm here to present for the Banking and Insurance section. So the mission of the Banking Division envisions a much more amicable environment in serving the community in all areas of responsibilities as provided for in the statutes and regulations. The Banking Division reviews and issues annual licenses to retail banks, foreign currency exchange, both dealers and agents, remittances, both dealers and agents, finance companies, pawn shops, and the certification of educational institutions. The goals and objectives of the Banking Division is to develop regulations in conformity with Public Law 1869 with regards to the dormant account, update bank applications for new, renewal, and offshore banking, and propose new application fees from $1,000 to $2,000 and $1,000 per additional branch facility. In the finance area, develop regulations for finance licenses as provided in Public Law 12-36, increase annual fees from $300 to $1,000, require audit financial statements for all applications, require police clearances for owners, officers of companies, and others deemed necessary. In the area of remittance, develop and modify forms FX1 to FX12 to disseminate to all remittance companies for uniformity, propose increase in fees from $300 to $500, propose increase in agents' fees of $30 per agent to $50 per agent. Others need as deemed necessary. In the foreign currency exchange, they want separate regulations for those of remittance, which are same currently. Propose increase in license fees from $300 to $500, increase in agent's fee from $30 per agent per company to $30 per agent, and others deemed necessary. In the area of pawn shops, propose amendments relative to the cash requirement to each shop to lowering such requirements of other documents from clients, requires CPA's presentation of financial statements, and others deemed necessary. Educational institution, propose increase in certification application, amend regulations, and annual audited financial statement required to every 3 years. Make campus visits and others deemed necessary. The long-term goal of the Banking Division, the need for legal assistance to amend enabling legislations for fees and other needed changes, budgetary constraints with the current fiscal financial crisis we are encountering, seek legal assistance from the AG's office to regulate the business of cryptocurrency. There's staffing. There's currently only one staff handling the duties and responsibilities in the Banking Division. And now I would like to move on to the insurance section, insurance division. So the Office of Insurance Commissioner. The Office of the Insurance Commissioner is a regulatory division under the authority of the Secretary of Commerce, who also serves as the Insurance Commissioner. The division is tasked with regulating the insurance industry in the Commonwealth. The mission: protecting CNMI consumers through regulation, monitoring, and education, while providing oversight to the insurance industry to best serve the public. The division's charges: administer and enforce the provision of the insurance division, promulgating rules and regulation, monitor financial condition of all admitted insurers, issue administrative orders and notices to carry out its powers and duties. So the goals and objectives of the insurance division is to conduct examinations and investigations to determine any violation, education and training on regulatory issues, which is critical and essential to ensure efficiency and knowledge of the industry, assist state insurance regulators individually and collectively in serving the public interest and achieving fundamental regulatory goals in a responsive, efficient, and cost-effective manner to the National Association of the Insurance Commissioners. The NAIC, National Association of Insurance Commissioner, offers education courses and training events and provides networking and professional development in areas such as financial regulation, company and agent producer licensing, marketing regulation, and consumer protection. The accomplishments: compile and publish an annual report which contains the information required relative to the insurance activities, regulate and issue certificate of authorities to 2 alien insurers, 12 domestic insurers, 46 foreign insurers, and 112 insurance agent and broker license. The total revenue from the certificate of authorities and insurance licenses is $29,425. These are just some of the activities of performance indicators and services that the insurance division provides to the consumers and the public. Challenges. The Office of the Insurance Commissioner is certainly not without its challenges as it continues to function and meet obligations despite the limited resources available. Currently, the division employs 2 staff to carry out its mandates. Such challenges as the ability to enforce and regulate due to the lack of qualified examiners to conduct examination and monitor insurance companies, to forecast problems in advance, and the ability to solve problems in an expeditious manner of an ever-changing environment, the lack of an administrating hearing officer or legal counsel to preside over the departmental issues or violation, delay the prompt settlement of concerns and appeals. Future plans of the division: to implement regulatory practices and procedures for solvency and financial examination, recommend legislative action to amend the insurance code as may be deemed necessary for such as security deposit requirements, the assigned risk plan, and the CNMI auto tariff, propose and implement fees for certificate of authorities separate from that of the business license, create copies of OIC's annual report, and for policy form 5. Also, to enforce actions on any violation by collaborating with the Office of the Attorney General for a dedicated legal counsel to conduct and review of each subject matter that is within the provision of the Insurance Act. It is critical to ensure that regulations requiring fair, equitable, and safe business practice are in place and are enforced for all stakeholders. The stakeholders is the insurance industry, the regulatory agency, and the policyholders. Thank you. That concludes my presentation.
With that, Madam Chair, I believe Central Statistics will be up next.
Excuse me. Yeah,
Yes, sir.
can we go ahead and pause? I mean, is anyone, does anyone would like to ask a question for
Okay,
each division? Is that okay with you?
okay.
Whatever you folks chose, I believe I was just following the format that was presented in terms of presentation and then Q&A after everybody. Rep Sheila, Rep Abata, I already gave the Sarge the copies to be made known.
Yes, Rep. Babalta.
Thank you, Ms. Chairman. Can you explain what the solvency and financial exam is? We're not familiar with it. You mentioned that in your slide, that one of the goals is to implement regulatory practices with respect to solvency and financial exams. Thank you.
So in the CNMI law, it requires that we examine insurance companies for their financial solvency and yeah, because we are in a position to not have the staff to do so. We had proposed doing a request for proposal to have a qualified individual or agency perform the duties necessary with the insurance commissioner so that we can implement it and have it be done regularly as required by law.
Thank you. I have one more question. You mentioned that there's a challenge of staff shortage. If it pleases your department, Mr. Ballman, can we get a copy of your organizational chart?
That we can easily provide that, no problem.
Thank you. That's all, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Rep. Babalta. Yes, Rep. Lizana.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, since we just now have the new industry, and I believe they are having a problem with the insurance. How's the section of the department working on that? Do you have any hopes that we can have some insurance for those businesses? That's the question.
So one of our concerns with that particular industry, within the insurance industry, is that a lot of the market is fairly new. So we're also looking into other means and examining how we would aid with the insurance industry, also having to provide the required, or how do I say this, to meet the needs of the new cannabis industry.
So you guys have been working on it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Lizana. Okay, should we move on now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Excuse me. Is it okay with you that we ask each of you question, or we have to wait for everyone to finish?
Madam Chair, however you want to proceed, we're prepared either way.
What does the team want?
So we don't.
Each, yeah, no, so we don't get lost because there are so many of you. No? Thank you. Okay.
And we don't have a choice.
Yeah. Okay. You may proceed.
And please introduce yourselves, no? So everybody is familiar.
Ladies and Madam Chair, members of the committee, everyone joining us this morning. I'm the Director of Central Statistics Division, Justin, and I'll give a brief overview of the division this morning, and hope that can enlighten everyone in here a little bit about the division and improve on the services we provide. So our mission statement is fairly simple. The office was established in 1990 by Public Law 7-35, and its mission is to collect, compile, and publish official statistics for the Commonwealth government and its subdivisions for policymaking and program planning and implementation. The division is guided on its mission by scientific objectivity, and it honors privacy and protects confidentiality and collaborates and shares expertise with its local, regional, and federal counterparts. Our vision is very short, but a very big vision. We are to provide high quality statistical services, contributing to the social and economic developments of the Commonwealth of the Northern Marianas. There are two main objectives of the division. It ensures that statistical data specified under the CNMI Statistical Act are collected, tabulated, and disseminated to the public with the utmost accuracy and in a timely manner to support policy formulation and data needs for the community. And the second is to ensure that the confidentiality and privacy clauses and provisions under the Statistical Act are upheld and enforced at all times. These are just some of the activities that we have accomplished and are going to accomplish, starting with the 2020 census. Data collection has been done. I just wanted to, a lot of people don't really get how much work the division and the department put in to accomplish the census project. Our work began on 2020 census in March of 2013, and finally we have concluded the data collection and now awaiting the report publication by the U.S. Census Bureau. And the second is the economic census done on years ending in 2 and 5. I mean, 7 and 2. Last economic census conducted was 2017, and that is also a Census Bureau project coordinated in collaboration with our office. The agriculture census is also a federal government project done out of U.S. Department of Agriculture, their statistics division, and it's also done in years ending in 7 and 5. The results of the recent agriculture census has also been published. The prevailing wage survey study that's mandated by the 2018 CNMI Workforce Act. We first conducted the first round of prevailing wage to compile occupational wage statistics in 2011. The other one was done in 2014 and 2016. And 2019 and 2020, we have now begun data collection for the 2021 prevailing wage study, and we will conclude data collection at the end of this month, produce the CRV1 occupational wage statistics table, and the governor will pass that on to the U.S. Department of Labor for their review and publication. Ongoing projects are the economic indicators report that's quarterly done by the division. Data sources for that report comes from a variety of sources from the public sector and the private sector. The Consumer Price Index is also a quarterly report. And then the GDP, the gross domestic product, that is in conjunction and collaboration between our office and the sister agency of the U.S. Census Bureau, the Bureau of Economic Analysis under the U.S. Department of Commerce. And I think the 2019 GDP estimates were delayed because of the pandemic, and they will soon be coming out with the report very shortly. In the absence of any other household surveys in the CNMI, we've been lucky over the past years to be able to conduct CNMI labor force survey, and the last we did was in 2017. The data we get from the labor force survey mirrors the data from census questionnaire, and so it's it's imperative that we do one as soon as possible, so that we can see exactly what's going on in our community and in our population. We get unemployment and employment and all sorts of data points that will be very useful, and we don't have to wait for once in 10 years to get those kind of stuff. This is the, I just wanted to share with you the makeup of the staff that we have right now. My eyes are bad, so I need to look at it, and it's not working. But we currently have four staff at the division right now, and it's with very good news hearing that the furloughs will be returning very soon. So we have one furlough staff who will be returning, and we look forward to that staff's return. This is the mandated, not mandated, but it's specified in the Statistical Act. There are four sections inside the division, and the four sections address different mandates in the Statistical Act to produce reports on those areas. And so, unfortunately, I can't see it from here. So we have to. It will be in the copies that will be shared with the committee. So these are, aside from the local fundings, whenever we do project, these are the different funding sources for those projects we do. So we can see that the Department of Interior funds some of the household surveys we do. They also currently fund the prevailing wage survey we do for the next 2 years, this round and next round. And then when we do the agriculture census, the U.S. Department of Agriculture provides funding for that. That funds goes to data collection and the production of the report. And then the U.S. Department of Commerce, under the U.S. Census Bureau, they fund the census project, and they also fund the economic census. I think that's it. Yeah, so that is a quick look at what we have right now for fiscal year 2020 and 2021. Then the closing, I would like to share that with challenges becomes opportunities, and we really seek assistance to build our staff capacity to implement technical innovations and latest statistical procedures and program. And the CSD really needs funding for essential staff to be able to continue to meet the mandates of the Statistical Act. We really need a demographer, that is going to be a population and social statistician. We need an economic statistician, and we need a computer programmer to help us crunch those numbers out into reports. And I'd like to add that we've been fortunate over the years with our secretaries believe that decisions should be based on data-driven decision making, and he's been very supportive of our division, and we've been able to maintain our contacts with experts and statisticians within the region, and we're able to tap their expertise, and because of that close relationship and network, they've been able to reach out with their busy schedule to assist us in producing the reports that we've been able to pump out over the years. So, and I don't think they're in their retiring years, so we would like to build our capacity, and these people, when they leave, they go into another world. We would like to be able to sustain our office. So the sooner we start building that staff capacity, that would be great.
I think that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Andrew. Any questions? Okay, I have two. Maybe you described it already, but I did not catch it. What is economic census again?
Thank you for the question. So economic census is done on a 5-year cycle, and it's a federal census done throughout the 50 states and also in all the island areas. And that is the census conducted at the businesses. It collects a number of employees, inventory figures, payroll figures. It collects other really good data points. So that's done every 5 years.
Okay. And thank you. And what about the economic indicator report? What is that?
Economic indicators report is a compilation of different reports from the different sectors within our economy. So it collects banking and remittance information. It collects car sales information and visitors information. Imports and exports. When our export was really big on the garment factory, we had those figures in that quarterly economic indicators report. So by each name, it's sort of it gives us a little bit of an indication of what's going on in our economy. So little bits of information that covers different sectors within our economy. That's what's compiling that quarterly report and is being pushed out.
Okay, and are these things available for the public to look at?
Yes, all our reports are published on that commerce.gov.mp website. Again, the impact of the economic downturn it reaches our desks. So we're trying our best to keep up with the workload, and by pushing as much as we can those reports that we compile onto their website right there. Otherwise, I can be reached at that email address up there. And if you don't find it online, it's probably there, but sometimes it's hard to navigate. And just send me a quick note, and we'll direct you to the correct report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Andrew. Okay, next. Mr. Rabaliman, who's
On my part. I love it. Next for the question.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question?
okay, sure.
While we're waiting for the next slide.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Going back, and I'm sorry, this goes to the banking division. Does Commerce have the data on how much remittances are being done per year?
So there's an annual report that's produced yearly by the banking division, and it's currently on the same website that he had mentioned. And yes, if I'm not mistaken, those are some of the data points that are collected and published on our website.
The total amount per year in dollars, right?
Correct. That is correct.
Another question, and again relating to the banking. Since Commerce is charged with regulating the banking industry, do you guys receive copies of suspicious activity reports from any banks in the CNMI?
Unfortunately for us locally, no. A lot of the suspicious activities for the FinCEN, the federal side of things, and if I'm not mistaken, I think I did see a proposal to include the attorney generals in the recipient of those suspicious activities. But to date, or currently, no, we do not. The Department of Commerce banking section does not receive any of those reports.
Why not? I mean, if you guys are charged with regulating the banking industry, wouldn't that fall under your purview? Wouldn't it be of interest to the Department of Commerce to receive those reports? And I understand the bank those that are FDIC insured at least, are required to send it to appropriate federal law enforcement agencies, and including FinCEN under the U.S. Department of Treasury. But Commerce is promulgated here in the CNMI or charged with regulating the banking industry, and I would imagine you guys would take an interest in that, given that IPI has recently been being investigated by U.S. federal law enforcement agencies for FinCEN violations.
No, I think in hindsight, it would make sense. I think it's just over the years, it has always been the responsibility under I think it's Federal Bureau of Investigators. With the banks themselves, they have their own internal policies and relative to being FDIC and the rules and regs that dictate what they are able to do. But to your point, at this point, I don't have the answer to the historical information as to prior years. But again, in hindsight, it would make sense. I don't know what it would take to have the banks be able to easily share those information.
I would suggest that you take an interest in it if you guys are charged with regulating the banking industry. You certainly can, absent any law. It would probably be in our best interest, the government's best interest, to try and obtain those documents.
Duly noted. Are we continuing? Is there any other question? Up to that is Economic Development Division.
Good morning, members of the committee, Madam Chairman. Thank you again for hosting all of us. My name is Kiyoshi Cody, and I'm the Economic Development Officer with the Department of Commerce. This presentation is going to be very brief, as you can see from the next slide. So feel free to interject throughout the presentation if you have any questions. I will be explaining some of the acronyms as well as we go along. Skipped a couple of slides when I decided to do this, so we're just going to assume that everyone's very aware that the mission of economic development might be to get us off tourism, or at least diversify the economic base. So we're going to just jump ahead to some of the priorities and objectives that we decided to put on the table for this fiscal year. Essentially, I see my role as being more of a three-legged stool that supports the priorities of my boss as well as the administration, primarily through exporting food security, as we've seen when the ports close after super typhoons, and the broadband expansions to serve the underserved and unserved areas, as well as we probably known by now that PSS students are having dire access to the internet. Some of the other priorities that you see from 4 through 8 aren't exactly in any kind of rank order, but just to kind of expound on it a little bit too, since this is going to seg into the CEDA introductory bill. Select USA is something that we're definitely putting on high priority this year. For those of you that aren't aware, Select USA is a foreign investment trade show that's normally conducted physically in Washington, D.C. around June of every year. This is where the governors come and they make their sales pitches to high dollar investors. They are asking us to go ahead and send in a request to attend. So we're going to go ahead and coordinate with the administration and all of our stakeholders to make sure that we can definitely attend and see what we can do to bring in more business. Cryptocurrency, just like our banking division is kind of mentioned too, for those of us who have just been keeping up, digital currency is now basically almost a new norm, even before the 2020 pandemic, but definitely heightened, as you can tell in the news. Elon Musk has bought $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. MasterCard and Visa are now adopting it. Squarespace and PayPal definitely have that on their payment platforms. So not only is that going to have us start to address some of the CNMI's regulatory needs when it comes to digital wallets and payment processing, but that's definitely something we're going to have to put on the table. We do have a couple of individuals that actually got on the last flight from the US over here last year that have the goal of making the CNMI a cryptocurrency region. And in this space, that could be something that would be potentially huge on a whole number of reasons. One of them, just to kind of quickly touch on, for instance, would be the ability for our local craftsmen to actually have their products paid for in cryptocurrency anywhere in the world. So that's something that we're looking forward to jumping into with them and seeing how far this can go. With the CNMI product seal, that's going to be rolled out this year because going back to number one, exporting through the state trade expansion program, it's pretty much in line with what we see with Hawaii and Guam's product seals in terms of giving consumers the ability to be assured that the products that they buy, while they're here are authentic. In terms of the said submission, that's something too that we're definitely got at the forefront of our plate. It's the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. This would be more of the CNMI's 5-year template in terms of high priority infrastructure and economic development needs. The prior iteration was spearheaded by Director Kodip's group at OPD, and then we just played a stakeholder role. For those of you not aware, my boss, Secretary Mark, is also the chair. And then to circle back to the first three, which, like I said, are just more of what I put the more emphasis on. First it's pretty exciting. It's the State Trade Expansion Program. So what this is a grant under the U.S. Small Business Administration that gives us the ability to provide financial resources to small businesses that are looking to expand their exporting abroad. So now we're able to take Tinian hot pepper, rototaro, and then give them the tools and instruments and the actual financial backing to not just develop a website or have it translated into a foreign language, but to actually be able to set up business matchmaking partners with them to identify a market for their product abroad. The ultimate goal, the way we structured our grants, was to send 5 small businesses to a physical trade show so that they can actually, get immersed in the experience of, promoting their products as well as the CNMI. So we have 2 step grants that we're currently working on. By July, we anticipate applying for the 3rd, and then we'll definitely see where we can go. For those of you who are interested, we are looking to send at least 10 businesses to the virtual Taiwan trade show, which is April 21 to May 22. It's going to be a month long. So we're definitely working emphatically on that right now. If you have any local businesses in your precinct that you think have a product that we should take a look at, feel free to redirect them to Commerce so we can see what we can do to work with them. Food security. This, I feel that the CNMI, might need to start pivoting toward bringing in future farmers of America into the PSS closed systems. This might be premature to mention since we haven't actually had formal discussions with the PSS commissioner, but we're going to have to start addressing the fact that the age of the average farmer in the CNMI is well over 50. That's most of the time maybe close to retirement age, but we don't see that vacuum of upcoming farmers in the 20s, 30s, and 40s that are looking to fill that void. So I feel that from our side, we need to do more to promote not just the recruitment of farmers in agriculture, but to actually partner up more with USDA in terms of projects like how to leverage your backyard for vertical farming, so that we don't get stuck into this pigeonhole of we need to have 500 acres of flat land like in Kansas. What can we do in our backyard right now with 200 square feet that we can, use to feed the CNMI? With the broadband expansion, thirdly, we're looking at seeing what we can do to increase the redundancies here in the CNMI so that we're still connected, especially after major disasters. Right now with the 2 telecoms, we've seen before in the past, UCUC goes down, both of them go down. We're exploring other alternatives to possibly bringing in satellite internet service, or depending on the funding that we're looking at, perhaps laying down new fiber. Any feedback that you have in this area, we'll definitely take a look at, but that's one of our continuing projects as well. Next slide. This is just a brief overview on, like I mentioned before, some of the activities that we're working on this year. The numbers that you see in bold are actually from the last citizen-centric report. Just shows that with the step grants that we're working on, that we're able to save the CNMI government on some of our salary and fringe, as well as return quite a bit to the indirect costs back to the general fund. So we like to think we're helping out the CNMI taxpayer by offsetting some of the overhead at Department of Commerce. With that, we can go to the next slide. I bring this slide up just to, I guess, address the hard truth of what we're looking at right now as a Commonwealth. I feel that we're on the precipice of another monumental shift in our history. And I believe some of them we've known before. It was the trust territory days, the garment manufacturing days, our pivot from the Japanese economy to a Chinese-based one. And now with some of the legislation that's being proposed, Article 12 may have the ability to reshape the trajectory of where we go. How that lands, will be determined, but that's where community buy-in, possibly community resistance, may decide to chart the course of where we go economically. Because one of the potential issues you may find out is that the creation of a Commonwealth EDA agency is great, because now we'll have a quarterback for the CNMI that's going to be able to lay down tax plans, look at the tax incentives for big companies to lure them to the CNMI. But as we've probably seen before in the past, big name companies may be reluctant to drop $1 million investments into capital expenditures or building if they are capped at a 55-year lease. So this may be a time in our history, and with this legislative cohort, where we may be looking at, something we'll be able to look back on generations and say we were part of that group that helped really push the CNMI and diversify its markets. The lack of vision and leadership is more of a reminder that there were people in our past that saw beyond the horizon to projects that at that time might have been, not publicly supported. One of the examples that come to mind, I've been told, was Governor Froilan's idea of the beachside pathway, which, back in that day, that wasn't fully embraced, but he saw beyond the horizon and the long-term benefits of how that would help the CNMI. And I feel that we have leadership that have that vision too and see that horizon, but with the creation of this industry or this agency, would CETA be able to have the autonomy and the flexibility to do what's in the best interest of the CNMI, regardless of which administration or which legislative group is in power? And that's something that I'm not going to personally address. I think that's something that we're all going to have to, sit as public citizens or private citizens of the CNMI and see, do we want to give one agency enough flexibility to possibly look at bringing in Anheuser-Busch InBev? With the amount of consumption of beer, does it make more sense to just have a bottling company here and be the regional distributor for the Pacific Rim? Personally, I drank a Foremost coffee this morning that was bottled in Guam, and I've heard my favorite soda, Pepsi, is actually bottled there as well. And it just annoys me that we're only a 20-minute flight ride and we have the exact same resources, and we just don't have that one person that can go ahead and close the sale for these big name companies and Fortune 500 companies. So this is exciting time. I'm looking forward to seeing what I can do to help, cause ripples here in the CNMI. I know our boss is definitely looking forward to doing what we can to help out CNMI citizens. And other than that, we're just going to do the best we can with the limited resources we have right now. But with your help and support too, I think we can do great things. Other than that, I am open up to questions, comments, criticisms. Pearls of wisdom.
Yes, Rep. Lizama.
No,
Oh, I'm sorry. Rep. Camacho.
Thank you. That was informative and very enthusiastic. We'll just bring more right in here to solve all our problems. Right? But there's a reason why we don't bring him in here. You should know that. But here's my question. You brought up CEDA. Now, we're talking about economics. We have the Governor's Economic Advisory Council, right? We have CDA, and we have the Economic Policy Advisors. We have MBA. Now, what role really does all this add to Commerce?
So the way I see it is it's likened to a football team. That we have a lot of specialists in different positions, but we don't have an actual quarterback to carry us through the entire game. So for instance, let's say we want to bring Elon Musk and SpaceX so we can launch satellite rockets into space. Right now, Elon wants to be the satellite provider of planet Earth. He's launching hundreds of rockets a week. Which agency right now would you say definitively is the one we would send to talk to Elon? And right now, we don't have that quarterback. If you've seen through history, governors will make a sales pitch. MBA may make their sales pitch. CDA, of course, has the QC qualifying certificate program and the tax packages, but there's not really one agency or one person that we can look at to say, you're in charge of grabbing this company. You're in charge of closing this company. If we wanted to do a convention center in the cinema, obviously there's always a big name on American Airlines, PepsiCo, whatever. Who would we send to close Samsung so that they would have the naming rights on a convention center here? Does that kind of answer the question, sir?
Well, kind of, sort of. But what I'm really asking is, who's in charge of all this? Who's going to be in charge? Is it the Department of Chambers or Commerce? Or are all these going to be separate individual entities of the government? And who do they report to?
I think I'll take that, Rep. Circling back to your earlier question, naming all these different entities. The role of Department of Commerce is, I already prepared a statement because the chairwoman had asked me to make a comment on the proposed bill, House Bill 2221, which is the creation of the CEDA. But I think in short is everybody has their mandates, and part of our role is to contribute to the makeup of the economic development. We are, as a Rep. About that mentioned, a lot of it too circles back to regulatory, very heavy in regulations. So I don't know at what point I'm going to read out or just submit the comments, Chair, but it's just different entities working on achieving the same goal. And with the creation of CEDA, using that same analogy, is now we have someone to move the actions forward, so that there is no confusion as to who may be responsible, who might not be responsible. It's just clearly defined, and everybody will work with said agency. Thank you.
Lack of vision from leadership. Well, you know what? I think what we need to do first is correct our issues here. Monopoly is one of them, right? How are we gonna fix this if we don't take a monopoly, right? We're talking about Elon Musk. Well, you're way up there, which is good, because I've always said if we bring Walmart here, everything will be fixed, everybody will be employed, we would have everything we need. Is that good for the economy? I don't believe so. We need all kinds of companies here so that we can compete. But at this point in the cinema, it's monopolized. Look at what happened to IPI. That was brought in against the will of the people. Who was in charge of that? Right? Was Commerce in charge of that? Who was? MDA? Well, I guess IPI was in charge of themselves. So here's what happened. So lack of vision from the leadership. Maybe you're correct. That has happened for a long while. You know, government was here. What happened to the government? There's a lot going on. You know what my vision would be if I'm gonna go where you're at, where you're thinking. I would like an airlines for ourselves. I would like a university, a true university here already, right? So lack of vision from leadership. Here we are, brand new. So we're gonna make this work. But why see that though? Is it to bring everybody together in one house? Or is it gonna be all split up to their own thing?
I wish I could elaborate more. You know, the author did the write-up and the findings. It's just it's a version of a version from in Guam called Gita, and just looking towards our neighbor, you can see that they're making it work. You know, with regards to Gita taking the lead on the investments and whatever the opportunities come their way. I believe it's just to replicate, to have a formal way of not causing any confusion among any of the agencies. But that's just, again, my personal opinion, because I'm not sure what the author. I haven't personally had a conversation with him.
Thank you. Rep Camacho, yes, Rep about that.
Thank you. Since none of you will give us your personal opinion, why don't you give us your professional opinion on 22-21? How does this bill, and if I may ask, may we have it in writing by close of business today? One thing I'd like to ask, I've read the bill, and I've lived in Guam for many, many years. Many of you guys know that. So I'm familiar with the agency GIDA. In fact, Representative Yumo kept correcting me because I kept saying GIDA. GIDA, he said it's CIDA. So anyways, my question to especially you, Mr. Cody, how does this not encroach on your duties? You know, as chairwoman of the JGO committee, it is incumbent on me to examine the laws that the legislature creates and to see how those laws are benefiting the department. How is it not duplicative, this bill that is being introduced? Because it sounds like whatever you just presented is exactly what this bill is talking about. And I'm in support, generally I'm in support of something like CEDA or GIDA, because I've seen the benefits of it. So that's one of the questions I have. And the other one is, if this is duplicative, and I find it incumbent on me to eliminate any duplications in the government to save money, would you be comfortable if we introduce the bill, if we pass this, would you be comfortable if we zeroed out your division because it's duplicating exactly what this is all about?
Oh.
You want me to
Yes,
answer?
yes, ma'am. So that's the exciting part about the introduction of the CEDA bill right now, because it's a blank canvas. It can be however we decide is going to be in the best interest of the CNMI. So my personal opinion, and I'm sorry, sir, I didn't know if you were asking for Commerce Department's professional opinion, but my personal opinion is I vision CEDA being a group of crack salesmen living out of hotels 50 out of 52 weeks a year, closing deals, hardly here, kind of like a Washington delegate. Their home base is everywhere but in the CNMI. This is their job function, go out and close deals. Now, The duplication part, I can't answer that. You're right, because I see overlap in certain duties when we look at some of the agencies currently in effect. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Is it redundant, government waste? I can't answer that right now. What I do know, though, is we do need to have this function like a football team. Specialists in every skill set coming together, but the quarterback's the one who drives the team downfield. So again, it's great because we can paint whatever brushstrokes we want for the creation of this agency, but just as an investor wanting to come to the CNMI, we need to give them a definitive agency that says, these are the guys, that you're gonna liaise with. They're gonna handhold you through business license setup. They're gonna show you around the island where you wanna put your factory or manufacturing plant. They're gonna handhold you through the process, and they're gonna also show you the tax incentives so that you can go ahead and bring millions, if not billions, into the economy. For duplication, that's a question I think I would just leave up to the legislature, because we still are trying to create this agency and we just don't know how we want to have it aligned. Do we want to have it split up from commerce? Do we want it to be an autonomous agency outside of civil service so that they can pursue and do the things that are necessary that, might not be hindered by civil service rules? I can't say for sure, but it would be whatever we think is in the best interest.
Yes, you may.
Forgive me if I'm not understanding correctly. I don't understand football. So your analogy is not sinking into me. I understand that a goal, a touchdown is worth 6 points and the kick after that is worth 1 point. But other than that, I don't know how to play football. But it speaks of the proposed legislation speaks of economic development and all these things you're talking about that you're already doing in your division. And you're saying there needs to be, you're saying partially that this is a good thing because they would take the lead? Is that what I'm hearing from you, or?
I think just for clarification, throughout the years, Commerce and CDA has had a strong partnership. And along the way, I think because the duties are similar, that's where it kind of creates that confusion for the investor or the potential person that wants to do business here. And along the way, unfortunately, it does happen that when information is trying to be, or there's an inquiry for information on how to go about creating a business here, it may go to CDA, but it's not their strength. It may come to Commerce and it may not be our strength. So the collaboration there is, to kind of uplift the shortfalls from one agency or the other. And I think, like I said, we've already prepared the comments for submission with respect to this particular bill. That's all I have.
Thank you. I look forward to reading those comments. Thank you.
Yes, Rep Camacho. Oh, no more. Okay. All right.
All right, moving right along. I just wanted to take this time. I have my small business director, and she's also currently under the Economic Development Division. And I wanted her to kind of speak on some of the programs that's under her office and the activities that she has been doing this past a couple months or years.
Top of the day, everybody. I apologize, I do not have slides prepared for today. My name is Nicole Bavalta, and I currently serve as the director for the CNMI Small Business Development Center. more commonly known as CNMI SBDC. We are a cooperative program under the Pacific Island Small Business Development Network in Guam, and we are partially funded by the SBA, Small Business Administration, with funding from the Department of Commerce and additional support from the Commonwealth Development Authority. We are currently working through transition to bring the center under the Northern Marianas College. That will better align for the future goal of the CNMI SBDC. So in our current role, our mission is to provide confidential one-to-one business counseling as well as training. We are an office of one serving Tinian, Saipan, Tinian, and Rhoda. We help with various programs to include local and federal funded programs, inclusive of the CDA microloan program, the State Small Credit Business Initiative, the Small Business Administration Guarantee Loan, the SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loan, the SBA Paycheck Protection Program, USDA Farm Service Agency, USDA Rural Development. We also work with various departments and agencies throughout the community to help bring funding to our people. Due to COVID-19, one of our focuses is emergency funding to small businesses. So in 2020, we were able to infuse 3.7 million into the economy. And we also were able to help retain 874 jobs through the funding support that we provided. Another program that was greatly appreciated by the community was our partnership with USDA Farm Service Agency for the Coronavirus Food Assistance Program. In totality, there were a total of 329,696 that was infused into the island of Tinian, 1,450,985,000 for the island of Rhoda, and 348,751 for the island of Saipan, which brings it to 2.1 million. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Nicole. I attended one of your presentations. I remember that was great. Thank you. Any questions? Yes, Rep. Babalka.
Thank you. Thank you for doing such a great job, Ms. Babalka. I have a question. There was a recent office opened up under the Special Assistant for Military Bureaus, if I'm not mistaken, a position which former Senator Sixto Igisomor now holds or directs. How is that not a duplication of your duties?
Thank you. So the CNMI PTAC, Procurement Technical Assistance Center, it actually focuses on contracting. So at the SPD, we're brother sister agencies. So at the SBDC, we are more in tune with business startup and business expansion, business planning, whereas the CNMI PTAC is more government contracting, whether local or federal. So some of the requirements under the PTAC would include obtaining a DUNS number, applying in SAM, how do you create a proposal for federal contracting, and those are outside of our preview. So we actually partner. So in light of the military buildup, which is expected in Tinian, we do have a lot of businesses that I do refer over to their office, and then their office takes on that portion of it. So where we come into play is, for example, if you were looking for funding to start your business, we help you with your business plan creation. And so we don't have any monies that we give out, but we do partner and try to find the money and direct the individuals to where the funding is.
But certainly your office could have done what, and I understand about federal contracting. I'm familiar with it, and all the requirements and the bureaucracy that it entails, but I'm wondering how or why can't that office fall under you? You can certainly get the credentials that required to get all those numbers and the regulations from the military. So that was my question, I guess.
Thank you. So You are correct. There are SPDC centers nationwide that are in together with PTAC. The Pacific, so our region, Guam is our mother. So you have Guam, CNMI, Chilkosh, Raya, Palau, and Ponape. So we all report to Guam. The Guam office is not set up to be SBDC/PTAC center, which actually requires approval from Washington, D.C. I do believe Hawaii does have a dual location, but we do not currently. Additionally, the funding is different in that our funding for SBDC comes from the Small Business Administration, whereas the PTAC funding comes from DLA under Department of Defense. But our Guam office, it has strong partnerships with the Guam PTAC office. And so we do share all the information that comes out from Guam and CNMI. However, the SBDC, our center is not approved to be a SBDC/PTAC center at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? Okay, continue.
Next up, we'll have the Enforcement and Compliance Division.
Morning, everyone. My name is Jesse Tong from Enforcement and Compliance Division. I'm currently serving as acting director. Okay, the Enforcement and Compliance Division has 4 sections under it. The first section I'll talk about is the Office of the Weights and Measures. Okay, the role of Weights and Measures is to ensure that equity and fairness prevails in the marketplace, and we do that by ensuring all weighing and measuring devices are in compliance with accuracy standards and guidelines. I don't know if you're aware, but when you go out in the marketplace, all the scales that are being utilized at the cashier counters are tested and licensed by us. And also, if you go buy fish on the roadside vendors, those scales are also tested and licensed as well. Okay, our involvement is to continue to ensure equity and fairness, and our goals, as we speak, the guys are out testing gas pumps. I don't know if you're aware that the gas prices are up again. So we are doing this program for the price verification. We'll be visiting the gas stations whenever prices go up to ensure that the pumps are calculating accurately. And also, we'll be doing the price verification at the supermarkets. Since most of the supermarkets are using UPC scanners, we'll be comparing the prices off from the shelf and the prices at the checkout counter, make sure they are the same. And the other new addition to our division is the tier weight inspection. So basically what that means is when you go to the marketplace and you buy, for example, a pack of meat, you should not be paying for the packaging. The weight of the packaging should not be factored into the price of the commodity. So we'll be doing inspection on that as soon as next week. We just had our forms made recently, and so by next week we'll be doing. So those are the goals for our waste and measures section. Now the other section of the division is the taxi cabs. I'm sure Representative Lizama is aware of the taxi cab sections of Commerce. He was one time our client. Okay, unfortunately, the turnout has been kind of really low for the Bureau of, for the taxi cabs because of the economy. The numbers are really dwindling. Back in 1996, we had a total of 300 plus taxi cabs out on the road. Now we're looking at only 50 or even less. And so far, only, I believe, 20 have come in to renew. They are just so affected by the economy and the COVID situation. So the goals of the tax cap section is to ensure high quality overland transportation within the tourism industry. We believe that the first impression that the tourists would have of our transportation industry is the taxi cabs at the airport. So we try to promote all that quality transportation so our tourists would be satisfied. And the third section is the recycling. The enforcement division is responsible for keeping records of all copper recycling transactions. So the recycling centers are mandated to submit reports to us, and they should also keep those reports in paper file and in video file. So when we go down, we pay visit every month to cross-reference those paper files and the video files. I'm pretty sure you guys are aware of the copper thefts that have been happening way back. I think that's what prompted this law to be enacted. Currently, we only have 3 recycling centers. So far, they are pretty much in compliance, with the exception of some damages caused by the super typhoons. And also the numbers for the weights and measures out the window from the closure of some of the gas stations. I believe 3 Shell gas stations are closed down after sustaining major damages from Super Typhoon U2, and to this day they are still closed. So our numbers have kind of doubled. And the fourth section is the tour vehicle registration. I think some of you guys are aware that there's still some finishing touches on the legislation. Okay, so basically we will be requiring all the tour vehicles to be marked. Apparently there was some concerns years back that there's some vehicles bringing tourists around and they weren't marked at all, and some that were marked not in English. So our role is to make sure those vehicles are marked and also in compliance with other pertinent requirements. So those are the 4 sections under the Enforcement and Compliance Division. Currently, there's only me and 5 other officers who are doing all these tasks. As we speak, they're out testing gas pumps. We're doing mobile today, and then tomorrow, since Shell is upping their prices today, we'll be doing the inspections tomorrow. So, in a nutshell, that's enforcement and compliance. I'll be taking any questions. Is there any?
Thank you, Mr. Chong. Yes, Rep. Kamat, and then Rep. Lizama.
Thank you, Chair. Now, one quick question.
Sure.
Now, the recycling portion of your your presentation there. Now, what relation would your division have with the proposed universal trash collection from the governor's GAC program?
I apologize.
You've heard of the universal trash collection that the
Apologize,
governor's
I'm not aware of that.
There has been, numerous presentations by the Governor's Economic Council. And you're correct. I think one of those is the universal trash collection. We haven't had the opportunity to really sit down and have that conversation. In light of the mandate for enforcement and compliance with regards to the recycling center, it really did revolve around the copper when it was heavily regulated or theft of copper. So it was to ensure that the recycling centers keep accurate copies and, to be able to have records of them so that back then, if the legislative body required some data, then it would have been produced by enforcement and compliance.
Thank you. Are you?
Okay, thank you, Rep. Kamatsu, Rep. Lizama.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the weight, do you tag them when you do the testing after tag them to those instruments or devices? So the
Yes.
customers can be aware that it was
Yes, we do. We usually would have a decal on the device. So if you see those
visible
rectangular decals, so like on the gas pumps, those are from our office.
Okay.
It'll indicate the month and year that they were tested.
Yeah. You mentioned about the Shell gas station.
Yes.
They already brought up their, or rather rise up their pricing.
Yes.
And you guys are doing the calibration or that you?
This time around.
Does not reflect, you need to do it now because they're raising price, right?
We have a periodic testing where we actually pump the gas out to our equipment and cross-check the meter on the pump and the gauge on our tank. But for now, we're just going around looking at the latest transactions from this new price hike to do our own calculation and make sure that the formula is jiving, meaning the price per gallon and the output of the gas and the latest transaction is amounting correct.
On the driver's, taxi, I don't know, I've been gone for a while, but I came back and I heard that even CWPs are able to drive. Is that right? I haven't seen the regulation, but for that reason, just don't.
Yeah, those are one of our challenges. We were especially in the beginning when the CW program came about, we weren't versed enough to know who's legal or not. There were some that are already been driving, and we just didn't have the heart to stop their business because they have mouths to feed.
Okay. So I guess we need to do some regulation.
Yes, more clarity on it because
Yes.
it's kind of hard to just go down to USCIS and just ask a bunch of questions. They'll tell you to look it up online.
Okay, thank you. I hear back.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Rep. Lizama. I was gonna ask those questions. Thank you. They've been asked. Okay, moving on.
Moving on, I believe the Registrar of Corporations is up.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and members of this August body. Thank you for the opportunity for us to be here and make presentation to the committee. I just want to give a brief history of the Registrar of Corporation. It was established by Public Law 10-07, and it was under the Attorney General's office. The Executive Order 97-3 in 1998 transferred over to the Department of Commerce, but the transfer never took effect until 2003.
Sorry, excuse me. Can you state your name, please?
Oh, my name is Edward M. De Leon Guerrero,
Thank you.
and I'm the Registrar of Corporation for Department of Commerce. When it was transferred over to the Department of Commerce, everything was transferred over with no changes. So the Department of Commerce really went kind of into difficulty in trying to meet the challenges of increasing corporations that we have that are coming into the CNMI, and keeping track of that, the responsibility, because the Register of Corporations mission is, the Office of the Register of Corporation is responsible for the issuing and holding custody of certificates, papers, statements, and other records and documents pertaining to corporations, domestic, foreign, limited liability, partnership, and non-profit organization in the Commonwealth. With the exception of sole proprietorship, all other business types are required to file annual and initial and annual report to the Register of Corporation Office. So there were several attempts to try and get financing to upgrade the record keeping at the Department of Commerce, but since introduction on House Bill 15-123, 16-216, 20-55, none of this bill went through. Fortunately, the introduction of Bill 21-19 has gone through, and now is Public Law 21-37. And that provides the Register of Corporation with the funding necessary to improve the record keeping and digitize the system that we have, so that we can provide better services to all the corporations that we have in the CNMI. At the present time, for 2019 actual, we have 3,131 total, corporation, domestic, foreign, limited liability, and non-profit corporation. That brings in an income of 251,084. For 2020 actual, we have 2,950, and we bring in a total income of 233,512. With the projection for 2021, we are looking right now, we're foreseeing right now an increase every week in the number of new corporations coming in to register. So with that, we're doing an estimate for 2021 at 3,000 corporation with an income of 350,500. So I have here two reports that I have readily available for the committee members. I have the challenges that we have in 2019, and then I also have the goals and objective of how we're going to accomplish this mission of digitizing and providing a better service to our thousands of to our 3,000 corporation here in the CNMI. With the signing of Public Law 21-37, we will accomplish the upgrading and enhancement of our technology and the one-stop center to carry out our duties and responsibilities more efficiently, implementing an online platform for digital submission and processing of documents by the Register of Corporation. This will also not only improve the reporting and compliance of the Register of Corporation, but it will also improve all the other compliance within the Department of Commerce. We would implement and maintain a system of monitoring compliance of all registered Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands Corporation on compliance on all requirements as mandated by law. Archive all current and past corporation documents maintained at the Department of Commerce, Register of Corporation, and provide training to all one-stop processing center staff on the new digital system. Right now we have 10 million records up at the Department of Commerce, 4 different rooms full of documents that belongs to all corporations that we still have to maintain, because once they pay for filing, we need to maintain the records. So this will all be archived, and then we will establish a digital portal for the use of all corporations and the general public on accessing corporate information, documents, forms, and instruction dealing with all types of corporations. This will really expedite the information giving out to people who are interested in doing business in SIPAD through corporations. Now I get so many inquiries from all over the world, requesting for different types of information on how to incorporate, what kind of business do we have here, and so forth. This information will be available in our portal, and they can easily, with instructions and on how to apply or how to incorporate in the CNMI. So that will really, we require an initial annual report for all the corporations, and they can do this once we establish this, because now we have the means to do it. Corporations doesn't have to send somebody up to Commerce; they can do everything online. And I said, the same with paying finance. They don't have to go to Commerce and then go to finance and then come back to Commerce again, to do all the required reporting and payments. It would be done on, digitally on computer. So, but we're on the process right now on looking into companies that can upgrade our computers and our new programs that will give us this capability with, to the Register of Corporation. So I have two reports here. One is the 2020, which mentions the challenges that we have right now. And one is the 2022 that talks about, now that we have the means, what's going to happen with the Register of Corporation and how we're going to provide this help out to the general public and to the corporations that are registered with the CNMI. That's about what I have.
Thank you, Mr. De Leon Guerrero. Yes, we really need to have that online so we can have access to it. Because I tried, I went to register my business and then I went down there and come back.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And then, by the way, this capability will be also available for Laura and Tinian.
Great, thank you. That's good news.
Hearing no questions. Before I move on to the next presenter, I just wanted to circle back to enforcement and compliance regarding tour vehicle registration, Public Law 19-28. Chairwoman, I just wanted to speak on, there's a current House Bill 22-12 that's currently in your committee, and that's what the acting director was alluding to with regards to completing the Public Law 19-20. The House Bill is only reference to allowing the Secretary of Commerce to be able to promulgate the fee structure in respect to that current public law. With that being said, I'll move right along, and I believe it is workers' comp. Thank you. For all those folks online, second to the last, so after Director Cabrera, one more, and then we should be complete.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of this honorable body. Thank you for the invitation to come in and enlighten some information pertaining to our Department of Common Services. My name is Francisco Cabrera, and I'm the director for the CNMI Workers' Compensation Commission. The CNMI Workers' Compensation Commission first enacted back in Public Law 6-33 under the October 25th, 1989. Currently, it was under the NMI Retirement Fund. Public Law 1788 was enacted to transfer the division of the Workers' Compensation Commission out from the NMI Retirement Fund and into the Department of Commerce, and for other purposes, which includes to facilitate the implementation of the regulatory one-stop processing center. The one-stop processing center came into effect. It took a while for us to fully implement it, but it really worked. However, during this pandemic period, everything has to be streamlined out again. So the one-stop is pretty much on a separate, individualized offices location. Next slide. The purpose of the Workers' Compensation Commission is to provide financial protection for both employers and employees from the catastrophic effect of work-related injuries, illnesses, death, disability, and medical expenses, including rehabilitation. So if there's an injury, the requirement is medical care and treatment. Should there be an issue for further medical care and treatment needed, like off-island medical referral, then it's applicable under the workers' comp. Okay. The limits of liability, just for the protection of the employees and employer. That's pretty much what the workers' comp provides. Again, it opens up the disability compensation. It involves also dismemberment of your body should something happen. Then we'll bring you back to rehabilitation. The protection on the liability limits to $40,000 as established back in 6-33. Excuse me. Currently, the $40,000, should there be temporary benefit, loss of benefit, meaning lost wages, the program provides that it pays out $140 a week. When you translate that, the $140 a week over the $40,000, that's payable in 5 years, 4 weeks, and 3 days. And that's concurrent through Section 9306 of the public law. The employer is required to pay for compensation for work-related injuries. The employer is responsible to purchase the workers' comp insurance policy from a licensed cinema insurance company, and they are to be in conformance with the NMI tariff and underwriting requirements and regulation. My office, the Workers' Comp Commission, policed the entire cinema insurance, licensed insurance companies, that they are in full conformance and following the guidelines. In the terms of disability, we have what we call the temporary disability, we have the permanent total, and permanent partial. There's also an increasing disability, injury increasing disability, meaning if you're having an injury and it's all been taken care of, then years down the line you have the same injury, then that's where what we call the injury increasing disability. Now, if you're employed on 2 different companies and you sustain those disabilities, then eventually the workers' comp will still continue to come in. Oh, okay. The administration of management. Backwards. Again, back, there you go. Okay. The administration management, this is when it was transferred in. The commissioner of the program, who is our Secretary of Commerce and who is also the WCC commissioner, and also I am the designee to perform the duties and responsibilities of the program. Also we have support staff in collaboration with the Department of Commerce in Tinian and Rhoda that provides the support services over to our office here in Central Office Site. Okay. One of the activities that we do is the certificate of compliance, meaning when an insurance policy is purchased, it has to be filed with the Workers' Comp Commission, and this is required and mandated for every employer. They are to purchase from a certified licensed insurance company in the cinema. And they have to file this on an annual basis if they are continued to be an employer within the CNMI. When an employer cannot secure coverage from locally licensed carrier, such employer must provide present proof showing from 3 different carriers at denial letters. Our role then is that we will notify the client or the employer the next step or the measures to be undertaken. We ask them that they seek coverage outside of the Commonwealth. If they're unable to provide proof of coverage from outside of the Commonwealth, then we write them a demand letter that should anything happen, it will be the employer's fully responsibility for any injury. That includes also death. Next slide. I put a short note on, I'm sorry, there you go. It is important to understand that in the absence of any coverage, I just want to make it well known that the employer is directly responsible to pay all costs. Beneficiaries, if an individual passed on, are also entitled for those benefits. The certificate of compliance. The certificate of compliance with law. Pursuant to Section 9346 of the Workers' Comp Act, I'm sorry, there was an error there, my mistake. I'm sorry. It should have read there the Secretary of Commerce and not Finance. My apologies. The Secretary of Commerce shall not approve or renew any business license application that walked in and who failed to submit all the requirements. So the Workers' Comp office is pretty much the last clearinghouse for all business license application in the CNMI. With our certification, certified clear, the CNMI business license branch office under Department of Finance, Revenue and Tax will not approve such license. On the claims, pursuant to Section 9321, any and all work-related injury claims must be filed and reported to the Workers' Comp Commission. It also provides under Section 9339 that from the date of the injury or knowledge of the injury, a claim must be documented and filed with the Workers' Comp Commission, or otherwise there is some civil liability penalty that we will look forward. The items 1 to 5 is pretty much just the general detail of information, but we do have the claim documents. We have 7 pages of claim documents that needs to be completed and filed. Once we receive them, a set of the claim document received shall also be filed with the insurance company. That's where the activity commences. If it's government employee, the claims are filed directly for our offices. If it's a private industry, then it's filed for our office. A set of the document will be filed with their assigned insurance company or their selected insurance company. Once the claim, once a claim has been filed, we still have some issue with the insurance company. Once a claim has been filed, within 14 days, upon review of the claim document, a decision shall be made, both by the insurance company or my office, on where we stand on the disposition of the claim. With the insurance company, there's Form WCC 205, which is the right to controvert the right for compensation. There's also a window that we open under the law that provide us to open up an adjudicated procedure process, meaning a hearing, informal conference, status conference, and right for formal hearing. And those documentation, if it's denied, official notice and letters are to be sent out to the claimants or the person in charge responsible. Now, on the next slide, with the current pandemic situation, I like to put this in just for information. The test question is Is COVID-19 compensable under the workers' compensation if the employee contracts it while performing their scope of duty? The answer is yes. Under the workers' comp classification, what we call illness. Coronavirus is an illness. It determines whether the COVID-19 cases are work-related. As the pandemic continues, employers could face COVID-19 claims filed by many other more employees. Our position is that COVID-19, should something happen, it's part of an occupational issue if it's truly during the scope of employment. This essentially means that one, it arises out of and occurs in the scope of employment, which will be normally determined by whether an employee B was benefiting the employer when exposed. Two, is proven to be a result of a workplace exposure. Three, is peculiar to the employee's work, meaning that the disease is found exclusively among or presents greater risk for certain employees. How do we evaluate COVID-19 case? Was there an increased risk or danger likelihood of contracting the condition due to the worker's occupation, such as frontliners, first responders, or healthcare workers? If not for the job, would the worker have been exposed to the virus or contracted the condition? Can the worker identify a specific source or event during the performance of his or her employment that resulted in exposure of the coronavirus? Such as, again, a healthcare worker who has actually treated a patient with virus. The other side of the workers' comp is what we call it's a incoming funding for Special Disability Fund. Special Disability Fund is set aside for the purpose of making compensation for injury increasing disability in accordance pursuant to Section 9308 of Public Law 6-33. The income earned is we collect 2% of the premium written by the insurance company on any workers' compensation policy issued every quarter, and a final report at the end of the year. This charge is remitted by all insurance carrier, again from the total premium collected. The second item is if there's a death case, excuse me, and we found an insurance carrier findings that there is no beneficiary entitlement, then the insurance carrier is obligated to put in $10,000 contribution into the SDF if there is no beneficiary found. And it takes 4 or 5 years to finally close the claim. The other income that we collect is that any and all amount collected under penalties and fines are subject for deposit into the work of the SDF. Pursuant to the statute, the SDF is administered by the Workers' Comp Commission or WCC Commissioner, who is the Secretary of Commerce. The Treasurer of the Commonwealth is designated as the custodian of the SDF account. Expenditures to that extent needs to come in from the Commissioner, approval by the Secretary of Finance. Although we have not done so in so many years. The next slide. Okay. Funding of the WCC program. Personnel operation of the WCC are coming in from the CNMI appropriated budget, and this falls under the account 1334 business unit. However, since 2009 to present, WCC have yet to be appropriated adequate funds to cover under the workers' comp. Zero funding. In the 2022 budget submission, we did request it that we submitted into our secretary, and it should be submitted to the management and budget to the governor. We're asking for a total of $902,702. This is to cover enough funds to cover for the entire over 5,000 government employees. That includes central government, 17 in Rota. We have federally funded employees, and also all instrumentalities and nonprofit corporations. That includes the 900,000. Given to that extent, if this is not feasible with the legislature, then what we can ask is we can go on a prorated dollar, and we ask for 250,000 or 350,000. Remember that liabilities of WCC are liabilities of the CNMI government and not the Department of Commerce. In essence, I've been in this program for over 22 years. Over the course of the years, I like to say, and this is the honest to goodness, true to the fact, every night before I go to sleep, I burn a candle and I pray. And I ask the Lord, please protect all CNMI government employees. Every night before I go to sleep. By the time I woke up in the morning, or my son, who is autistic, wakes me up, I prayed. I said, Lord, thank you for today. And I ask again, the Lord's assistance for his help, that every single government employees are safe. And that'll be all, and thank you. Here's to you and to a safe working environment.
Thank you, Mr. Cabrera. And yes, we do. All of us should pray for everyone to be healthy. Thank you. Any questions? Oh, yes, Rep. Babalta.
Good morning, Director, and welcome. How much exactly is in the SDF fund account at this time? Do you know?
On top of my head, I should be looking at maybe about 1.4, 1.6 million. However, in that total number, there's roughly about 900 to 1.1 million that is being held by Bank of Hawaii or Hawaii in the investment market.
Is this the account that is used to pay out cases that are filed, let's say with, and I know government employees are not covered or with the workman's comp?
Yeah, the coverage ends April 2009. We cease to provide any coverage then up to today. So we levy the responsibility for any associated costs on any injury claim, including death, will be the responsibility of the respective department or duties.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Babalta. Yes, Rep. Komatsu.
Thank you, Chair. I want to thank you, Mr. Secretary. It is very informative, very educational as far as I am concerned. I'm learning a whole lot more than I thought I knew. But I want to get back to one more item. Mr. Cody, thank you. Where's he at? He's not here to hear what I have to say about him. Right? So anyway, I'll save it for him. I don't think that we're doing enough, although you guys have your work cut out for you. And thank you for a great team that you brought in. However, no matter how forward thinking we are as leaders, leaders lead and workers work. If we are not enforcing enforcing what we're doing, compliance is one of them, compliance and enforcement. If we are not working on that, I don't think we really are doing our jobs, right? And that's, to me, that's key to how we're gonna make all this work. I'm not gonna get into details, but as a concerned citizen, I live here, I pay my taxes and everything else, I go to the grocery stores, I go through all this, but we all have to do that. And I notice things, especially in the grocery stores. Now, and I'll bring up, let's see, the disabled blue. If it's blue, then you. I think that's the slogan or the motto. But if you look around you, I see blue up against the wall, painted on there. So that is not compliance as far as I'm concerned. I can park there. There's no sign up there otherwise that says, you get penalized for parking out here. You have to have a play card, right? I walk into the grocery stores, there are boxes all over the place. I've not seen a wheelchair going through, and I'm referring to the small grocery stores. You can't push a wheelchair through there. That's one other. I'm looking for sugar. Sugar is amongst the salt, the flour, and they're all written in foreign language. So those are just some of the things I do observe. So I really believe that if we're going to make things work, compliance and enforcement needs to be strengthened. We need to work on that. Go ahead, please.
Sir, I think that might be more of the consumer protection. I might have to refer that matter to the Attorney General's office.
So it doesn't fall under commerce.
Consumer protection is under the AG's office.
Okay, good. So you can report that. So that is my concern. We should bring him in later, no, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Komatsu. Okay. Oh, yes, Rep. Abalta. Go ahead.
Going back to the workers' comp, I'm looking at the law that created workers' comp, and you mentioned that you have faced the onus of compensation to employees, government employees I'm talking about, to the department. However, I don't see in the law, maybe, I think this law needs to be updated because it still mentions the garment industry in here. The 6-33, it still has garment manufacturing industry, and we no longer have a garment manufacturing industry here. But you mentioned that the onus is on the department for government employees with respect to injuries on the job or death or anything that deals with workers' comp, the eligibility for compensation, but I don't see it in the law. So maybe we can work with you and your secretary to update this, because unless it is promulgated by regulation only.
We sent out a directive back in April 2009 to that effect. We went through, at the time, we were under the NMI Retirement Fund. There was a legal counsel during that time, and it was all cleared through the AG office back then in 2009. When you take a look at the law also, Representative about that, it label public or private are supposed to be with a coverage. At the beginning of the public law 6-33, back in 1989, it was not funded, zero funded. The history to that, the funding came in 1990, 91, and 92, and that funds came in from an IOU from the NMI Retirement Fund. After that year, on the fourth year, the legislature funded the workers' comp program. So what we're doing back then, my predecessor, I came on board in 98. Okay, the program came in 1989. So during the fourth year forward, every year there's always the funding is continue and not shall not lapse. That's how it was written. So whatever lapse funds during the end of the fiscal year, workers' comp remitted a certain portion back to pay off what is owed to the retirement fund. So that's all paid off in the history that I'm aware. But yes, we sent out a directive. It was concurred, and it was all clear back then in 2009 by the AG, and also our legal counsel then. So, you know, we move forward.
1990, you said it was created in 1989 it was funded, or it was zero funded, right?
Zero
That was the administration of Guerrero and Mangonia. And then after 4 years, it was appropriated for in the Commonwealth budget in 1998, is that correct? 94 or 98?
In 94.
94, the administration of Tenorio Borja.
Yes.
And then after how many years was it funded?
Continue on being funded until 2008. In 2009, we submitted a budget appropriation and we got zero funded.
Okay.
So that decision came into place.
The administration of Fitio, is that correct?
2008. Yes, if I'm not
Yes,
mistaken,
yes.
yeah. I need to look it back.
Or, yeah. Because I'm thinking, if we're going to update this and eliminate or purge all the obsolete language in this, right? I'm talking about 6-33. To take out the garment industry, garment manufacturing industry is still in the law. I think what would work is perhaps to similar to the public auditor's fee, that every department is required to remit 1% of their budget to the public auditor. Maybe that will work for workers' comp. If you're placing the onus on the department and they're not sufficiently funded for this, perhaps a similar or identical statute may be enacted to accommodate the lack of funding for public employees. Just a comment.
Thank you for that comment. And let me just share back a response to that, Representative Babalta. Since 2009 forward to this last budget cycle submission, we have submitted a funding mechanism, and it has not been heard. It falls into deaf ears, in other words. What we appropriately requested is that half of 1% of the semi-government personnel costs shall be devoted for the workers' comp. So when, as an example, if we are during this FY22 budget cycle submission or Public Law 21-35, that's the Fiscal Year Budget Act of 21. The calculation I reviewed, there's a total of $180,540,485 in total personnel costs. All government employees, senatorial district, Tinian and Rhoda, government, corporation and agencies, and federal funding, total of 180 million. When you take that dollar formula, take half of 1%, it gives you $902,702.43. That's what we're asking. Now, if the legislature feel and the governor feel that it's not a accountable dollar for workers' comp, so we're asking 250,000 or 350,000, and that should suffice us forward. It's only for a reserve for claim purposes for all government expense. Personal cost is not for my salary and my staff salaries are not included in that 902,000. This is basically just for workers' comp.
You mentioned about the SDF account. What exactly is that about?
It's called Special Disability Fund. Okay, under the Special Disability Fund, it opens up a category that a collection of funding of 2% is being collected from all insurance company that sells workers' comp policy per invoice. 2% goes in. Then we have death cases from the private sector that are unclaimed or there's no beneficiary. This $10,000 goes into the pot. It may take years before that happens. And any penalty, civil penalty that we issue to any private insurance company or employers goes into that account. Now, when you take a look at that particular portion of the law, Section 9353, it clearly states that the funds can be made available to pay for injury increasing disability. And that funds collected under fines and penalties can be used for the operational cost of workers' comp. Very minimal amount that we collect under the fines and penalty.
Can you explain increasing disability increasing?
Okay. Injury increasing disability. You're injured. Sorry, you're injured here at the legislature. Okay. Workers' comp will take care of you. You decided to move abroad someplace else, or work for a private company on island. You're injured again. The same injury occurred equally. You have a fractured leg. You fractured again your leg here. So during that portion, we will review your claim case and we will make a determination that since you fractured that leg and you fractured that other same leg here, then it's considered as an injury increasing disability. That's when we use the SDF fund to pay for you. It's not charged against your employer or the insurance company, but it's from the Workers' Comp Commission.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? We're good? Okay.
Okay, just wanted to add a side note, Congresswoman. We do look forward to working with you to revisit some of these languages as you had mentioned. It is part of the ongoing task, that they review their mandates and their laws so that, can be presented sometimes down the road to be able to kind of remove some of those language and updates them. But with that being said, we do appreciate the stuff that you folks have been pointing out. Last but not least, I do have my ABTC director for the final presentation, and I heard it's going to be a great show.
As for I assure myself that I had 40 slides. I don't know why I have 17 right now. So, Madam Chair, I think we're blessed with the same blessings today. Try to keep it down short.
Can I make a short comment before you begin? It's 11:46 a.m. right now.
Yeah. So yes, from 40 slides
I pray
to 17.
You won't read all 40.
All right. We'll do the
Thank you, Director.
covert operation with this presentation. Good afternoon. My name is David Marpita. I'm the director of the Alcohol Beverage Tobacco Control. It's good to know that we have two members within this esteemed committee who are former colleagues of the Department of Commerce, and they know the nomenclatures of what is commerce all about. So we're glad that we have those two representatives in this team. Just a quick overview and intro of the division. The ABTC is the former, Alcohol Beverage Control Board, and we are the law enforcement arm under the umbrella of the Department of Commerce. We are principally responsible for the enhancement of economic resources through the enforcement of laws and regulations governing the licensing that deals with the manufacturing, importation, distribution, transportation, and sales, including but not limited to the enforcement of the age restrictions and limitations associated to the consumption of alcoholic beverage and tobacco products. Our mission is to provide service in a manner that fosters and protects the health, safety, welfare, and economic well-being for the people of the Commonwealth. Our vision is to provide consistent, fair, and timely administration of the alcoholic beverage and tobacco control rules and regulations, promote and enhance community safeguard through enforcement and outreach programs, enforce the laws to reduce and prevent to the extent possible youth access to alcohol, tobacco, and beer and nut products. Our goals, before I proceed, just to make sure that the committee has a copy of this presentation in front of you. Madam Chair, you have a copy of the...
We don't. No, we're just looking at this.
Okay.
The slides.
All right. So I'm going to be just quickly swifting through this because of time base. Running for it's time for my metformin also. So the goals, we provide consistent compliance measures of the business and professions code cinema-wide, promote essential services through our enforcement and outreach programs. These services are aimed at reducing to the extent possible the cost dynamics and adverse economic impact associated to the consumption of alcoholic beverage tobacco products. Our objectives, as you can see on your slide there, or your report that you have there, we have 7 objectives. I'm not going to go through all 7 objectives, but you can have, if you have any questions with our objectives in accomplishing our goals, we're open for that question. Okay, just to quickly give an overview of our current division capacity. As you can see, we have 8 staff. That includes myself plus 3 law enforcement officers. Our annual output, this is actually a condensation of the 2020 activities that we have condensed from our indicators. The annual output we had was 93%. And our annual compliance inspection, it's a ratio of 2 to 370 inspections. The reason why you see 2 here is because we require 2 enforcement officers at all times while they're out there in the field. Okay, so the ratio of inspection is 2 to 370 inspections per year. Alcohol, tobacco, beer licenses, our annual average is 800 licenses annually. And again, this one, there was a toll that was taken in 2020 because of the closure of business and government. This one kind of went down a little, but this is an average. The total revenue for all the 3 licenses that we have a $250,000 on annual revenue average. Okay, on our staffing assessment, just to give you a quick peek of our SWOT analysis. SWOT is the strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat of the division. Our strength actually focuses on the technology. Weakness is the manpower that we have. Opportunity would be resources that we have out there. Threat is actually tension within our organization, and can translate that to stress. A quick peek on our external strategies to plan out in achieving the objectives of our SWOT analysis. This is basically the TOAST matrix. It's the opposite acronym of the SWOT. Okay. So just follow the line, the yellow line, from positive to external strategies. In order to strengthen to maximize our opportunity, we maximize resource to support technology. Strength to minimize threat. We plan to maximize technology to minimize tension. When online, minimize weakness to avoid threat. We plan to maximize technology to support manpower. And last but not least, maximize resource to support manpower. Okay, just a quick view also of our performance activities and indicators for FY 2021 projection. As you can see there in front of you, I'm not going to go over all these activities or services that we have online, but if you have any questions, please ask after this presentation. So those are the numbers crunched down for the committee for their review of, basically what is our services out there. With respect to the revenue projection for 2021, 2022, you have it there presented in front of you. If you have any question, we'll answer it later. For highlights, usually took out our FY 2019-2020 highlights from our citizen-centric report. As you can see, for 2019, we proudly graduated 8 ABTC law enforcement trainees from the 25th Cycle Police Academy, and that was into 2019. We were able to reduce the violation rate from 12% to 3% through consistent enforcement and training on responsible alcohol, tobacco sales and services. We were able to complete the Signer Joint Tobacco Compliance Inspections together with our partner agency with the Community Guidance Center. FY 2020, we were able to successfully streamline and compile all the updates for the ABTC CNMI codes, rules, and regulations to be consistent with the CNMI law revision. We have successfully reinstated the ABTC division in the definition of law enforcement officers under the Gun Safe Act. So that is why, with the brief introduction, ABTC is part as the law enforcement arm under the Department of Commerce. Quick outlook for FY 2021 with the federal partnership. We have contact with the Food and Drug Administration folks at this time with a possible proposal that's going to be released sometime soon for a contract with the ABTC, Department of Commerce. Just quick background with this contractual service with FDAs to enforce part of the Federal Food and Drug Administration Act and the Comprehensive Smokeless Tobacco Health Education in accordance with the Family Smoking Prevention and Tobacco Control Act. So the goal of this contract is to enforce the age restriction of the sale and distribution of cigarettes and smokeless tobacco to protect the health of adolescents and improve a healthier community. And the objective is basically to conduct undercover compliance checks on age and photo ID restrictions, conduct compliance visits, and advertising and labeling restrictions. Anticipated contract amount will be $1.2 million, and this is also anticipated for a 5-year contract. However, there are RFPs still yet to be released, but we are prepared to submit our proposal for that RFP. Just a quick glance with our role with the COVID-19 operation. Under the Executive Order 2020-04, Emergency Directive 14, the ABTC serves as the primary agency to enforce the Emergency Directive 14 business guidelines and protocols. We review and inspect health and safety plans for those businesses that are reopening out there, and also new businesses. We inspect them and submit those inspections to the COVID-19 chair for approval. We also work closely with the Governor COVID-19 Task Force, CAC-7, the Homeland Security, and we also work with DPS, and DPW under our current COVID-19 Sub-Task Force operation. Okay, last but not least, our action plan for FY 2021-2022. As you have it in front of you, I'm not going to also go through this action plan, but please feel free to just quickly browse through the problem statement goal and our actual action items for this year and 3 year. Actually, this action plan is based on a 3-year action plan that basically focuses on additional revenue generation and to ensure that proper data and statistics are being reported by the covered businesses out there. And that's it for what you wrote today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. That was a great presentation. I can see where the tension is because you only have 8 staff.
Yes, fortunately, we're going to be having our furloughs recode that will eventually land us with 12 staff, which is sufficient, but 16 will be efficient.
Okay, any questions? Okay. Yes, Rep. Babata.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director, you mentioned about the annual compliance inspection with a ratio of 2 to 370. What exactly does that mean? 2 are in compliance or to 370? What does that ratio represent?
That's the number of inspections that or compliance inspections that we conduct annually. So just take that 270. Was that 270 or 370? 370 times actually 7 officers. That will show the total number of inspections for that year.
Thank you. Do you currently receive any federal funding, grants, or?
Not at the current time, but we are expecting that FDA contract. No. Well, FDA is a contract. It's not a grant, but yes, we are working with also with the Criminal Justice Planning Agency with their programs to tap in, with whatever block grants that they have that will support our enforcement efforts or our programs. And of course, the U.S. Justice Department.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, thank you about that. Any more questions? Okay, so I'd like to open it now for public comments. Anyone? All right. Okay, I'd like to make a motion for a 5-minute break. Okay, let's have a 5-minute break.
Chair, I guess to allow these people to leave, right?
Yes. Thank you. Yes, you are dismissed. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So that's 1, 2, 2, 3. 1, 0. 1, 2, 3. So this one, Richard, how are you?
5 minutes, 10 minutes, I'll take you out the one.
Then they're gonna come back to Georgia. What? You want break? Break on adjourn. Yeah. Huh? You're gonna come back then adjourn. Yeah. So this one's your last name. So what is the zero? No, when they're done. So it's just that's what you system to the thing. So when they're done, and stream, this one stops. This one, but surely that one stops. Nobody, you stop it now.
Yeah. Hi. Hi. How are you?
Covenant date. It's when she's coming.
Sure.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
It's a calendar. Yeah.
So you got here? What's the? Am I asking the call?
Yeah, it's a mess.
Yeah. Contract,
Bye.
for
They went from worker to congratulations, worker to you're a leader before worker, then manager. Now I'm not getting term about
Okay. Thank you. So I guess you're gonna contract out certain companies.
Whether it's Saturday or Sunday football or
Okay.
Like you make me happy for the Olympics just because there's some other sport to look at.
You're still gonna resume to a chair.
Okay.
I see what's wrong with it.
I don't know how
Right? Yeah, yeah. No.
Not the politics. Let's talk about our immigration.
Never likes the setup. Like my sister.
we're trying to balance the program.
I'm gonna do my own.
You forgot?
Yeah, yeah, that's.
That they want to remodel
Oh, CD. Okay.
130 leadership position.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to, well, so. Actually get.
Exactly. Also, Department of Commerce, they don't get here. Someone
Oh, like GR. Yeah, okay, so someone said something about that. I didn't know these were.
It doesn't, this doesn't allow that. All its employees are funding from corporations.
Right. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, no worries. Sorry,
let us begin. It means they want new money.
All right, sir.
Okay.
It doesn't say to but if I was gonna introduce this bill, I would have said, eliminate the. This one?
Ma'am.
Send us the slides later. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we are back. And I'll open the floor for discussion among the members. No discussion?
I do, Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
It wasn't quite clear to me. And I guess we'll wait for the comments with respect to proposed legislation, House Bill 22-21, because it wasn't clear exactly to me. How is it not duplicating the Economic Development Division of Commerce? So I look forward, I hope he'll submit his comments by today. Did you request for those comments?
Okay, I'm gonna text him and ask him to send them over. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Oh, there it is.
I got
It magically appeared.
Thank you, all right.
Thank you. That's it for me.
It is now 12:08. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Discussion on that motion? Ready? Those in favor, please aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Meeting adjourned.
Good job, Chair.
Yes, even me. I was because even the CDA, the CDAP, it's about economics. No, CDA, the current one. It's about economics, and
Commonwealth
they're
Construction Development Authority.
and they're coming up with a CEDA. I don't understand why.
Industry.
But oh, I'm sorry. There's a chow in there and drinks enough. Yeah.
In the conference room.
I forgot last time. You're welcome.
And
Thank you, Council. Thank you.